So from the alumni board, well, we have Sagar, Anahit, Eduardo, maybe also Agnes later. And Anahit will host the event also together with me. And I just wanted to start with a little announcement about like more administrative issues about the IHS Alumni Impact Award. This is the award that we organize every 2 years. We have started the applications. So we have opened the call for applications a few weeks ago, and it's going to stay open until the 3rd of July. So we are still accepting applications. And you are very much welcome to submit a small-scale urban initiative or project that you are part of, or that you started, or that you're in the core team of. It has to just be an existing initiative to support the local community in some way, to have some small-scale impact. And we are giving a prize of up to 3,000 euros and a trip to the Rotterdam event in the fall to the 3 finalists. So we will choose 3 finalists, and they will be invited to join us for the final event and for the award ceremony. So we put more information about this on the website. I will put the page in the chat, and I want to invite you to take a look if you haven't heard about it yet, or maybe you missed the communication about it. Also share it with your peers if you know other alumni. Thank you, Eduardo, for the link. If you know other alumni who might be interested or who fit this, please share it with them. If you have country groups or WhatsApp groups, just inform people about this, because it's a nice opportunity. In the past years, we also had 20-something participants every year, and it was a really good experience. So it is limited to alumni, unfortunately. We have a question in the chat. So it's just for IHS alumni. When you graduate, you can also benefit from this opportunity. So
you can also check the application and prepare somehow, you know, for the next times.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And I'm going to pass the mic to Anahit to tell you more about this webinar and to start introducing our speakers. And we'll just start. And if you have questions throughout the webinar, please just put them in the chat.
Well, hello everyone. Hi, I'm Anahit. I'm from Armenia. I work in Rotterdam for already 9 years after graduating IHS, and currently I work as an urban designer, and I'm also the president of our IHS Alumni board. We do have also our alumni board team here online. I don't know, maybe we can say hi, or maybe we can do it later. How are you guys? Eduardo is here from Brazil, and Agnes, our communication officer, and Sagar, who is also our speaker today. He's also in the alumni board as a vice president. So it's we have quite a nice diversity here, and maybe we go we can start, because it's we have 4 speakers today, and I'm also very curious to hear everyone. We will have it more as a panel discussion today. So please also think, if you have questions later, we will have a small session for questions and answer. And today's panel, basically, or webinar, is about UN Habitat careers and professionals, and career path, how you get into UN, United Nations. And it's also will give a lot of insights and understanding of career paths, ways, learning about recruitment processes, and also gaining more practical experience from young, but also from senior specialists. So we have 4 very nice speakers today. Alexander Chileshe, he's head of office for Zimbabwe and Zambia. More than 25 years of experience in international development. We have Samuel Njuguna. He's sitting now in Nairobi, Associate Program Manager Officer and Policy and Legislation Section in UN Habitat. And we have Barihan Soliman from Cairo, Basic Services and Climate Change Program Management Assistant, UN Habitat, also very relevant topic, climate change. And of course, we our Sagar Jayaramulu from from India. He's working currently as an urban policy intern in UN Habitat, also in Nairobi. So let's have maybe a small round of introductions. I would like you, all speakers, maybe have a small introduction moment, like 5 minutes we take per person. And let's start from Sagar, and you can briefly introduce yourself, and what is your current role in UN Habitat, and how did you ultimately join UN Habitat, and what steps did you take to get to your role? Maybe just briefly, if you can introduce yourself, Sagar.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Anahit, for the kind introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Sagar. I am currently an urban policy intern with the policy and legislation section, which is part of the Global Solutions Division in UN Habitat at the Nairobi campus. I was part of the IHS cohort, part of the 2023 cohort, where I was took up the housing and land justice specialization. Post my master's, I was looking at internships, at opportunities on how I could progress further in my career. That's when I came across several opportunities to volunteer, events to attend, and also a few seminars where I met plenty of people who are working already on the field, who gave me plenty of insights. Post which I started my process of applying to these internships. And of course, it's a long process where you have to put in multiple applications with different sections, but eventually it did come through, and I've started my internship here in the beginning of 2026. And so far, enjoying every bit of this internship, and also being here in Nairobi. I'll just keep it brief, and I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Sagar. Nice already to hear that your path started from a bit of networking and meeting people. I guess something that we will hear from many. And Barihan, hi. Can you also introduce yourself briefly and tell us how did you join the United Nations? What is your role? What steps did you take to get there?
Thank you, Anahit. It's always a pleasure being here with IHS. I'm a program assistant. I work on basic services and climate change in UN Habitat Egypt office. We're based in Cairo. And I have a background in architecture, urban planning, and urban design from my bachelor's. I'm part of I was part of cohort UMD 16, so we graduated in 2020. And after my master's, I was there exploring and seeing what kind of opportunities are out there. I have been always interested about the development sector. I've also been working in the development sector before my master's degree. However, I was working more regarding sustainable urbanization and informal settlements, and I wanted to delve more into broader sectors, more than informal settlements. I was working also during 2021. I was working on refining some reports as an editor for urban farmer projects here in Cairo, and then I came across this internship for UN Habitat. It was for green infrastructure, which really resonated with my background. At IHS, I specialized in managing infrastructure for green cities, so it was really interesting. So I applied for it and I went for it, and that was actually the start of my career, just like Sagar, with the UN Habitat, and I've been working there since then. In my current role, I actually in our own program, we work on a variety of projects. I work on water, sanitation, urban mobility and urban design, and everything green infrastructure, and everything related to either the availability of basic services for everyone in urban areas and peri-urban areas, and sometimes also in villages, it depends, and for climate change projects as well. And everything is very interconnected connected, like or interdisciplinary when it comes to our field of work in the development sector. So yeah, I think I have said a lot, so I will pass the mic on, and if you have any questions, I will be waiting. Thank you.
Oh, sounds very interesting. Thanks a lot, Barihan. Samuel, can you tell us a little bit insights about you?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And I just realized that I'm meeting my colleagues for the first time, Barihan and Alexander, just to show how big the organization is. Anyway, so my name is Njuguna. I am a lawyer by profession. I am Kenyan. I live in Nairobi. So I am an associate program management officer, which doesn't really mean much. And that's why I normally say that I work on urban law within UN Habitat, and it covers everything under the sun. I work on housing, land, climate, transport, etc. Anything urban related, we come in to provide the legal expertise on this. So my work focuses on supporting countries in strengthening the legal and institutional frameworks that help create more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable cities. And if I can share a little bit about my career journey and what led me to my current position. So I pursued a master's degree in law in the United Kingdom in 2016. And then shortly after graduating, I applied for a 6-month internship at UN Habitat. And that internship really became the foundation of my career. So over the years, I've worked under different contractual arrangements, including consultancies, national staff positions, and now in an international professional role, all within the same team. So I'm glad that along the way, I've developed a specialization in urban law and policy, which has really opened opportunities to contribute greatly to Habitat's global normative and technical work. And actually, one of my big achievements, I'm not saying this because we have Alexander in the room, but because we actually did work on a huge project in Zimbabwe, which was really about reforming the legal framework. And I was proud by the fact that it produced this new Climate Change Act. And to see that come to fruition for me was one of my biggest achievements. So again, I'll stop here and I'm happy to share more details as we move along. Thank you.
Okay, Alexander, we're very curious to hear about your path.
Thank you so much. It's good to hear colleagues speak, and it's so interesting because Samuel is right. UN Habitat is so large. I'm meeting the three of them for the first time myself as well. Yeah. So my name is Alexander Chileshe. I'm a Zambian, but I work and live in Zimbabwe, where I am head of office and program manager for UN Habitat. Currently, I'm actually program manager for a large program which is focusing on sustainable cities, looking at waste to wealth and looking at legislation in the built environment. It's interesting because my background actually. My first degree is in business administration and economics. I would have actually ended up working in the central bank, but I think I really wanted to do something that is, not to say that working in the central bank is not practical, but I wanted to do something that involved seeing practical implications of the decisions that I was making. And so my first step, for me actually in stepping back, I should say that I have been preparing myself for many years to work in the urban development sector. And it was not that I was preparing myself for the UN, but I was preparing myself to contribute to the urban development sector. And I found myself in the UN. So anyway, I came to IHS, I think 2000 to 2002. Where I did my first master's. And interestingly, immediately I came back, and I'm glad the discussion we had before the meeting started. UN Habitat usually has an interest in people who are from IHS, because I am not the only one from IHS. There's so many people within UN Habitat from IHS. So as soon as I came back, it took me about a year, because previously I was working for Care International. I spent 7 years working for Care International in Zambia, in Malawi. I have experience working in Kenya, in the Kisumu area of Kenya with Care International. So immediately I came back from IHS. I joined, I left Care International and joined Habitat for Humanity International, where I worked again in Malawi, Zambia and parts of Zimbabwe. But after that was when I joined the UN Habitat. But for me, I want to say that even as I joined UN Habitat as a national officer for Zambia initially, and then supporting the whole of Southern Africa, I had not stopped working at improving, working on myself to make myself more relevant within the UN system. And so I went to the University of Cape Town, where I did another master's in development policy and practice, and then I went on to do my PhD in development policy and practice, which I completed about a year ago. So, but my role and within the UN system, for me, I have kept on improving myself over the last 25 years plus, because for me, I believe that for you to get the opportunities for tomorrow, you have to work on yourself today. You can't wait until the opportunities show up. And as you work on your competencies, as you work on your professional career and your profile, you make yourself even much more relevant to the UN. So anyway, let me stop there. I can say a little bit more when the questions come.
It sounds very interesting. I think we all are mostly also like interested from hearing from you, Alexander, with such a huge amount of diverse experience. It's a pity that you cannot click the button and get all this experience somehow. But we do hope that during this type of webinars we really can share, because it's really important to share also experience from people from senior level that already went through so many steps. So we are looking forward. But let's start now, maybe because we have a lot of also students and fresh graduates now in the audience, and I guess also many people are searching their first job or their next job. So let's start from our fresh graduates from Sagar and also Barihan, about to talk a little bit about more like entering the UN system, and how can young professionals nowadays start building the relevant experience today, and what experiences and what skills, what decisions led to you specifically, Sagar and Barihan, to get into UN system. Can you open a little bit this topic? How can you enter UN system, if you would? So maybe Barihan, you can reflect on this, or
yes, of course. Maybe Sagar, you can go first.
Okay, let's start with Sagar because he's the most, let's say, fresh IHS alumni.
Yes, thank you, Anahed. Thank you for the opportunity. To begin with, the first thing would be to identify your niche during your study program, rather than trying to cover everything. Of course, as part of the program, you would be, but to identify what specifically drives you, what are you passionate about to work on, and to find the topics that you're genuinely interested are in, to explore more, dig deep into the organizations they're working on, which even bodies are working on, what are the projects, just to get an understanding of what they are. And it's I would say it's also it tends to serve you better in terms of going in breadth than having to stand out early on. And it's also easy to sustain the motivation when you're working on something that you actually care about. And second, I would say to make the effort to attend events, seminars, or conferences where you would meet people. These two things really helped me personally a lot, where like I had the chance to volunteer at the last WOOF conference, which is the World Urban Forum, where I had the opportunity to meet several of the professionals who I see on the compound. When I'd met them, that I always asked them for advice on how I should proceed, and although short, they did give me plenty of valuable insights on how I should enter the UN as an organization. And also they expand your exposure to the topics that you're interested, and more importantly, they let you to network with professionals that are already working on the field. And on my own steps, I would say I'm currently wrapping up the internship. I would say immediately after my master's in IHS, I started looking at various other opportunities like internships or volunteering or other consultancy opportunities. But the internship was one that I was selected for, and after a process of interviews and reviews, I was eventually selected. So that would be my very short aspect on how to enter, or at least how I entered the UN Habitat.
So basically, if you sum up to one word, it's networking or social skills. So expand your network, write it down. People who are searching this, it's quite interesting to hear, because many people sometimes feel that you have to have a nice CV or like hard skills, but like in the end, soft skills, meeting people is like a game changer. What we also hear from you, Sagar. Barihan, what do you have a similar story or some?
Yeah, I can't really stress enough about, like the importance of networking. It's not just, like to just enter the system. It's also about learning whenever you meet different people from different places, and you have like those conversations and those exchange of thoughts. Like you learn more, about more opportunities, whether within the UN or other places. You get to know about, like trainings and workshops. You get to know about what's happening in the sector. Our sector is really changing every day. It's evolving day by day, and there are more topics, and there are very cross-intersecting things to work on. So to be able to keep up with all of these, it's like a group work. So yes, attend events, networks, just whatever opportunity you find, just grab at it. Also, I would actually say that focusing on your CV and the quality of your application is also important. Like when it comes to applying for the UN, the system works by, like capturing the keywords. So this is important to focus on, and to focus on providing a quality application when you're applying. And also, just like what Sagar was saying, everything comes at the end to having the passion to work on this. Why do you want to be there? What kind of a change do you want to see? What do you want to achieve? And thinking about that will give you somehow of a map of how to work, what skills you want to build, and everything actually works in our sector. Like it's really diverse, and whatever like you have, and whatever unique something you have, it's gonna be fitting somewhere, and everyone is gonna be complementing each other. So yes, it's personal and it's also technical skills together.
Okay, good to hear. It's quite useful, I think. Also for yeah, people who are already in a working position, maybe to make a next step to UN. It's quite interesting insight. Thanks, Barihan. And maybe now let's talk about competitiveness. So Samuel, would you tell us a little bit about the UN recruitment process, and how competitive it is, because we know that it is, and how can you stand out as a candidate? What skills, what competencies are significant, and maybe some do's and don'ts from your experience when applying to UN opportunities?
Thank you very much. I would say that the first step is to tailor your application carefully to the vacancy announcement. And this means clearly demonstrating your achievements and impact, and providing concrete examples rather than simply listing responsibilities. And I think in that sense, that would get you to the interview stage, because you'll catch the eye of the hiring manager. And I think here, even for me, it was a little bit of an eye-opening when it came to the interviews, that at the UN, the interview is mostly something we call the competency-based interviews. And we place a significant emphasis on competencies such as teamwork, professionalism, communication, planning and organizing, and client orientation. So these are normally tailored to the needs of the job. So the legal, the planning, the architectural, policy work could have different competencies, but the main ones that I normally see in almost all job openings would be the teamwork, professionalism, communication, and planning and organizing. And here the key focus is that the interviewers are literally asking you to draw on past experiences to demonstrate how you have applied these competencies in practice. And the idea is that past behavior is often the best indicator of future performance. So I think a key method that has really helped me in this phase, and also sitting as an interviewer as well, is that bring out the complexity of the situation, your specific role, and the results you achieved. So preparing strong examples using the STAR method, which is a situation, task, action, and result, will really help you showcase better how your real experiences can make a significant difference. I think I've touched on the competences, but I would maybe want to a little bit that we value a lot of technical expertise, but equally important is the ability to work in a multicultural environment. So the interpersonal skills are really essential, and also the ability to showcase that you can apply your expertise to real world challenges and collaborate with diverse stakeholders is quite something that is valued in the UN. And if I can move on to the do's and don'ts, my advice again is just to ensure that you highlight measurable achievements in your application. And definitely maybe I can bring in my own experience in this comment that I wanted to mention, that it's also important to remain persistent. So early on in my career, I applied for an internship and later learned from a friend that had not been shortlisted. So I actually identified the hiring manager, and I did send a brief short message expressing my strong interest in the opportunity. So that initiative I felt really helped me secure an interview and later the internship, which really became the first step in my journey with my UN Habitat. So sometimes taking that extra step can make all the difference. And if I can just sum it up in terms of the don'ts, I would say that on the other hand, avoid submitting generic applications. Do not exaggerate your experience or become discouraged by rejection. And I've recently been involved in screening a lot of applications for internships on urban legislation. And I was a little bit discouraged seeing AI-generated applications, seeing a lot of typographical mistakes, and cover letters that are underwhelming as they do not state the strengths the candidate possesses in line with the position they are applying for. So please be aware that the UN recruitment is highly competitive, and perseverance is often just as important as qualifications. So stay focused on building your skills, gaining experience, and applying to positions that meet your interest and expertise. I'll stop here, and definitely will keep engaging as we move along. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. It's definitely it's very interesting to hear. Yeah, also, from someone who went through this process and didn't give up. So write this down also, guys. Everyone, don't give up. I see also in the comments that Alexander is replying to one of the questions if there is opportunity for more senior positions to apply. And indeed, you have to try. This is what we always learn, that even if you are not selected, you should try again. If you are passionate about something, it will indeed come to you, I believe. So yeah, it's quite interesting to hear. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about also building a long-term career. Yeah, for Barihan, what skills and competencies have proven most useful in your current role? Because of course, when you apply, you have all you put all the things in your CV, and yeah, you try to prove your skills. But what is the most useful competencies so far that you use in your role, and how this align with your previous education experience?
Thank you. So when it comes to skills, there are actually many. Like I would say, like the first one that was really relevant to me is like project coordination, being able to just identify what's going to happen and prepare for it in advance and manage everything all together and in parallel, like so that like you can manage a full project cycle. I'm also talking about this from the perspective of my own role. So I work as a program. So when it comes to what I'm responsible for is that I'm like I'm working on the full cycle of a project. I'm not just doing like technical input somewhere. We start, like with preparing for projects, and then when we get the projects, we manage them and we oversee everything until like implementation, and then we close the projects. So this part is really important for me. The second one, I would say, stakeholders engagement, because you have to manage and talk to everyone together. We work on sustainability and on inclusivity, and so we have to actually reach out to everyone. Just name it, like government. Most of the time, we're working with government. We also work with like private sector, academia, civil society, of course, CSOs, NGOs. Just everyone who's there is involved. So being able to get everyone to the same table and have the talk and to reach something, this is also really beneficial, and it's actually, I think it's one of the most essential things. And also related to my position, I would say for me it's attention to details. I have to work on contracts, RFPs, MOUs, agreements, and so many legal documents. So I need to be, like paying full attention. And this is when it comes to, like just doing the work itself, like to my role. However, if I link this to my background as an architect, urban planner, urban designer, urban development practitioner, I would say that the technical skills are also most important. Everyone fits in their own place, but for me, like I was working on, like I had my background in urban planning, and with urban planning also, like I studied infrastructure both at my bachelor degree and at my and at IHS as well. And so I was able to, like manage projects on water and sanitation. I also, like during my career before IHS, I worked as a landscape architect. So I was working on technical drawings for projects such as like the LRT or the BRT and so on. So when I came to Young Habitat, at that time we also like had a BRT project, so I was able to like review the drawings and give feedback, and also when we were talking with the government and exchanging, I was able to see like what's good and what actually can be sent and what needs to be modified and so on, so I could give like a technical feedback as well. I would say also, like technically as an urban designer as well, I was working on Cairo Bike. I'm not sure if anyone heard about it. It's the first public bike sharing system in Egypt. So it was good to be able to also work on bike lanes, work on the social parts of the bike sharing system, and be able to contribute to this. So like that was from my part, from my side, for my role. However, we do have so many different roles in UN Habitat, and everyone can contribute with their own skills. Some people, they work on legal parts, some people work on the financial part, some people work on the economic part. Everything is interconnected, so everything is important.
That's a nice closing statement. Everything is important, so which is indeed. And yeah, I will. Thanks a lot, Barihan, for these insights. And I will ask another next question to Alexander. So we really want to get your advices and your experience. And can you advise our ambitious urban professionals today? What would you recommend them to focus on over the next 5 years to remain relevant in this field and impactful in this super rapidly changing development landscape where geopolitics, AI, like the world is changing so fast, and it's very difficult to stay relevant. 5 years before, you would never imagine that there would be ChatGPT and some AI assistant joining the webinar. And what would be your advice to really stay relevant, and how ambitious young professionals can stay relevant through next 5 years, for example?
Thank you so much. That's a very interesting question, because even after 25 years, believe me, I'm still trying to stay relevant. So for me, three things. Let me just mention the three. First is develop depth. It's necessary to develop depth in the area that you have chosen. Um, it's not everything that you will want to do, but once you've chosen an area, develop depth first in that particular area. But secondly, also, as you develop depth, be also broad enough to understand other issues as well. I'm happy that the issue of the interconnectedness, has already been talked about. The urban landscape is so interconnected now that it's so difficult to separate the different areas. Climate resilience, digital transformation, housing affordability, migration, urban inequality. All of these things are all coming together. Housing, of course, in there as well. So as you develop depth, but also be broad enough to understand how what you're focusing on connects with everything else. Because as has already been mentioned, I think by Barihan, I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Most of the time, we will be required, I have been required to contribute much more than just my specific expertise to a particular project implementation. Sometimes, most of the time, actually, I've been asked to implement the whole project, by myself in collaboration with everybody else. So depth, but also broad enough. But also something I think that really needs to be emphasized is adaptability. Be adaptable. You must be willing to take on new challenges. Some of the challenges that I've taken on in my life are challenges which I thought I would never do, at the beginning. But because I've been willing to go in to work with others, to learn, and be adaptable. I have found that I'm learning much more over the years. So maybe let me say 5 things which I was writing down actually as people were talking. These are the 5 things actually that I would advise a young graduate. First of all, number 1 is to build, as I've already said, build a strong technical expertise, build a strong competence area. That's number 1. It's very critical. Because we're getting into a data age, develop data and digital skills. You can't avoid that. It's not possible to avoid it. That's number 2. Number 3, I would advise, before I say it, I want to say that I've met so many people who know what they're doing, but who have failed to communicate what they're doing. So please strengthen communication, not just with stakeholders, but also with teammates in your team, and also sharpen your engagement abilities. It's necessary. How do you engage? Because the networking that Sagar was talking about, you're talking about presenting yourself in a particular space to people. So engagement abilities are very necessary. Number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, is I'm glad somebody talked about volunteering. It's necessary. Gain field experience as much as you can in diverse contexts. So be an intern, be a volunteer in Southern Africa, be a volunteer in Asia, be a volunteer anywhere, because you're building yourself towards something that you yourself know you want to get. And then also for me, I would also say cultivate a habit of lifelong learning, because of course learning doesn't stop, but have that conscious um, habit of just deciding to learn at every opportunity. UN Habitat provides a fantastic opportunity, by the way, because I have met brilliant minds in my field and outside my field. There's just so much to learn, because we're the ones developing standards, we're supporting various governments. For me, I'm supporting governments in Southern Africa to develop laws, legislation, to work on various urban basic services, to work with various local authorities. So for me, it's been 25 years plus of just continuously learning as I interact with people. So if somebody goes in with a mindset like that, it would be impossible for them to fail. And I should also say it would be impossible for them not to find themselves in the UN. Thanks so much.
That's great to hear, Alexander, and also very inspiring somehow also for I guess people who are for many years in the industry. It's still quite insightful to hear this from you. Maybe talking also a bit about like more global priorities and local realities, Alexander, again. So development professionals, they often operate between global priorities and local needs. In your experience, where do these perspectives align, and where do sometimes diverge, and sometimes not even it's not even sometimes, it's actually many times they diverge, and how can you balance this and navigate those tensions effectively, like with your experience?
Thank you so much. Actually, that's a very, very interesting question. Actually, a very interesting intellectual question. Because where we're sitting in UN Habitat, most of the time we develop these global standards, the habitat agenda, many others, including the SDGs as well. And then the question then would be, how do these then relate to the local context? For me, I always begin from the local context and say context always matters, because the tension it usually comes in when we don't apply the global standards relating them to context. It becomes difficult because what we're focusing on at the global level and what the local people are focusing on in whichever location we find ourselves in are totally different things. We want to see the global picture, we want to look at the global picture, but the local context at the local level, people want to look at what is the result out of whatever it is that you're bringing. So for me, I always say the global context provides the direction, the local context then provides the implementation. You then need to interpret what the global picture is talking about. If that is done correctly, if that is done collaboratively with local people, it becomes much easier. I joined UN Habitat in 2011. And I found colleagues within the UN system, I must admit, who were operating in most of these countries as experts, as people who knew what needed to be done, and were going into these countries to tell, not to listen. Development programs did not work very well in those perspectives. But when we all changed our perspective to go in these countries to listen and to learn, it became easier, because then you meet the local people at the point at which they are, and help provide the knowledge that you have, matching with the local knowledge that they have for things then to move forward. So I agree, there's always that tension, but I think the problem usually is from how we ourselves as professionals working in this particular area approach these things. For me, I always say context matters. When global standards have been released, when the new urban agenda has been set, when the SDGs have been set, the question I always ask is, okay, I work in Harare in Zimbabwe. Other contexts have been working in Lilongwe in Malawi. How do I, in collaboration with the local people, interpret what those global standards are saying, what that the new urban agenda is saying? What are people expecting to see? Because people at the local level want to see something that is tangible in whatever situation it is. So anyway, let me stop there.
No, but it sounds so interesting when you talk. I think all of us are somehow enjoying, hearing all these insights. Maybe last question before we go into, because there are also many people have questions, so it's also interesting to hear what are people interested in. Maybe last question, Alexander, because when you talk, it sounds like everything is kind of solvable and things. So what is this, like, the most challenging thing for you in your work? What, like, maybe can you give us a bit like insight on this? What are your most, like, the biggest challenges? Oh, you're muted, Alexander.
Thank you. I
Yes.
was flipping my papers. I was writing a few things down as we were talking. It's interesting, yes, because 25 years working in this sector can be frustrating. You need to manage yourself and manage the expectations. When I began my career as a young project officer working for Care International in Zambia, I wanted to solve everything myself. I wanted to deal with everything and sort out all development problems for everybody. But that's not possible. I realized that I was burning myself out. I needed to do my piece, work hard, in collaboration with everybody else to deal with a particular aspect. When I joined Care International in Zambia, I was working on improving access to rural areas for inputs to go in, meaning seed, fertilizer, to reach the places where it's supposed to reach, and then for finished product to then come out of the rural parts of Zambia, of rural parts of Malawi. That's just what I began to focus on, working with the community and not trying to provide all of the solutions. It can be overwhelming. It can also be very frustrating, especially for me, the job that I do now, my current role, because over the last 10 years, I've been advising different governments. I've been advising the Zambian government. I've been advising the government in Malawi, government in Zimbabwe, government in South Africa, not all of South Africa, but different cities in South Africa. And then the same advice sometimes yield results, good results, but the same advice sometimes doesn't yield anything. It's like I'm hitting a brick wall. So it's important to understand, again, as I say, context and also the historical perspective of all of these countries and all of the partners that we're working in, because most of the time what prevents governments from moving, it is the historical perspective of how these countries were set up, or the political nature of all of these countries. So for me, over the years, in order to prevent myself becoming too old very quickly, I have learned to manage myself and manage my expectations, give the advice the best way I can, and of course push to make sure that correct solutions then come out. So that's one of those things. Apart from the complexity of the environment in which we work in, because cities and urban development is so complex, because you're talking about basic services, you're talking about legislation, you're talking about land, you're talking about all sorts of things that make a city livable, that make a city function. So it can be quite complex. Also, I think for me, maybe one more challenge before I come to the rewards, because there are rewards. It's just also balancing between ambition, my ambition, and the resources that are available, because there's never a point when there's sufficient resources to do everything, never. So and for me, who has given my whole life to this area, I want to see solutions, I want to see results, but it's to balance what I really want to do with the resources that are available. I worked with certain colleagues when I was working in Malawi who told me, let's just use this money to get these people out of this place instead of helping them where they are. But you can't do that. You need to work with people where they are and provide services and provide what it is that they need where they are. Working across different countries for me has been extremely challenging, because I have to calibrate my brain all the time. That I'm
Shift
now in Zambia.
mentalities.
Yes, exactly. I'm now in Zambia. I'm working with the Zambian government. These are the issues I face now. I'm in Zimbabwe. Now I'm supporting Malawi. It's very interesting to do those brain gymnastics, because after 15, 20 years of doing this kind of thing, I have now become an expert on Southern Africa. There's no country that I do not know well.
But this is
That I
the
can,
most, maybe just to add, Alexander, is one of
yeah,
the beauties of IHS, that here in IHS you really meet people from all over the world, because in
yes,
many universities this is called international, but it's just has very small part of the world, which is in, but IHS covers really the whole globe somehow, and then you
yeah,
learn this. So this is one of the nice skills, let's say, learned in IHS that you can use in your
yeah,
path in UN
yeah.
Habitat.
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. And then, of course, I just wanted to quickly also say I have done assignments with Aloysius Bongwa on Zambia, which has been very interesting. Okay, two rewards that I just want to quickly mention. Then I stop talking. I think I've talked too much. Uh, for me, one of the greatest reasons I am not sitting in the central bank today is for me to see the tangible impact of the decisions that I'm making, especially in the role where I am now. I'm managing one program. Actually, I'm managing is a $6 million program, which is called the Sustainable Cities Program. the decisions I make, I can see the impact of the decisions I make 1 week later, because I'm dividing resources. I'm deciding, let's put money here. This is where we'll have the greatest impact. And I can see that impact after 3 years of doing that, which for me is fantastic, because we're talking about people, remember. It's not numbers, it's not statistics, we're not talking buildings. No, we're talking about having an impact on people's lives. So for me, that's been the greatest reward. For me to see a place where there was no water, now there's clean water. For me to see a child who was studying with a candle at night to do her exams, to now have a solar system. Those are the decisions I've made, and I can see impact. But also for me, another one is just the fantastic opportunity to collaborate with colleagues within UN Habitat. As I said earlier on, there are fantastic people within UN Habitat from whom I am continuously learning. Thank you so much. Sorry, I've
That's
spoken for so
amazing
long.
to hear. Thank you, Alexander. No, it's really nice. I think we can hear for long, of course, but of course the time is limited. But it sounds nice. It's somehow I got even inspiration to apply, but who knows? And yeah, maybe just to sum up our webinar before we go to the questions, because I see also there are some questions and some hands raised. Can you, for the speakers, can you just give one keyword or sentence advice for our young audience, or for people, or also for professionals that are want to get to UN? Just some kind of closing or statement from each of you. Maybe Sagar, what would be your keyword or sentence?
Yeah, thank you. And I would probably stick to a sentence. A keyword is a bit hard. First thing is to just apply. I would start just applying and then wait for the results. Also, that a system like Inspira, where you apply, can feel overwhelming initially, but when you first encounter it, because it has a lot of unfamiliarities. But once you take the time to understand the process, the steps involved, it becomes a much more manageable than the initial barrier that stops feeling so intimidating. So I would say break it down, understand the system, how tailor your application, as Sam earlier mentioned, and to go step by step to fully understand the job description, to break it down to smaller parts and understand and apply specific and respond to those questions as specific as you can. I would stop at that.
Thank you, Sagar. And Barihan, what would be your key advice?
I would say, like, maybe two advices to always work on personal development, enhance our knowledge and skills and everything. And I think the most important one, it's also a reminder for my own self, is to be patient, to have persistency, and to never lose hope. So, because just like it was mentioned before, working in the development sector, sometimes like we're lucky to see like the effects of what we're working on right now, but some other things, they require time and they require patience, and they're like long term.
Thank you. And someone?
Thank you very much. I'll be very brief, which is strange from a lawyer, but I would encourage all to seek practical experiences, and this does not mean necessarily working in the UN in the past. What matters most is demonstrating initiative, developing transferable skills, and literally just showing a genuine commitment to development issues. That's it. Thank you.
It's very short for a lawyer. Thank you. And Alexander, we heard, of course, all your advices, not to give up, to manage expectations. Do you have some like sum up statement advice for everyone?
Yeah, I probably should be the lawyer, because I speak a lot. So anyway, I, two things, and I'll stop talking as well. For me, with what I've gone through, because I shouldn't lie to you. My career in international development has not been a straight line. It's been an up and down and bumpy along the way. And I just want to say that to all of the young people joining international development, that international development is not a sprint. It's not a sprint. It is a marathon. it's a marathon, and develop endurance along the way, develop the patience along the way, remain curious, and wherever you are, just make sure that you are making a difference wherever you are. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thanks a lot to everyone and all the speakers. Yeah, for this amazing opportunity. We have several questions. We can go through it. I think I see some hands raised and some questions in the Q&A. So maybe if you have questions, put in Q&A. We don't promise that we will answer all of them, but yeah, you can get contacts from each other, search, find on LinkedIn, and please do also join the LinkedIn group of IHS Alumni, whoever didn't. Let's start on the questions. Stefano, do you want to navigate through questions?
Sure.
Or yeah?
I can take a look. So let's see. There was a question that I think I moved in the Q&A. And it was let's see, it was a question as an alumnus. So for Alexander, a question as an IHS alum from 2001, well, 2002, does UN Habitat have positions at senior management levels? Typically, as the experience goes up, higher level positions are hard to find. Please advise. Maybe, of course, there are probably positions. It's a large organization, but how would you advise somebody to prepare for a more senior role, especially if they are not experienced with working in UN Habitat, if they want to enter that level?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. I think it's what has already been mentioned. Respond to the advert. First of all, look out for what fits your profile, and respond to that particular advert specifically according to the questions that have been asked. I remember Samuel saying, and I agree with him totally, don't exaggerate your experience, but just make sure that you indicate the relevant experience that you have. When I joined UN Habitat, it wasn't in a junior role really, because I joined as a national technical advisor for Zambia, which was a more or less P3 or so position, which isn't very, very junior at all. It's really just to show the experience that you have. And I joined from Care International in Zambia. I didn't have any UN experience at all, but I think it was just positioning myself and selling the competencies that I had to that particular institution. So P3, P4, P5 positions are there, and they've been advertised. If you check on UN Habitat Careers, the careers portal, you will find P3, P4, and P5 positions, actually including D1, D2 sometimes. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Yeah, I think some other questions are also answered in the chat. So people are asking about opportunities for internships, opportunities in Nigeria. I see Samuel has been very diligent sharing links and replying on what type of roles they're available. There's also a question about how the loss of funding or disruptions of funds have affected UN Habitat. I don't know if anybody wants to reflect on that, although it's not really strictly related to careers, but it might be interesting since loss of funding is something many sectors are confronted with currently. But I think this is it for the questions in the chat. Yeah.
I see Bia on
maybe I spotted
someone
one. Yeah.
raised a hand, but I'm not sure if it was from a webinar. Do you have any questions, anyone, or?
If anybody else wants to ask something, I think you may let us know in the chat. You don't have to, of course. Now, I think then maybe we can, move towards wrapping up.
Yeah, if there are any questions, I think, you just be connected via LinkedIn, call, ask, really find each other, search each other. It is really important. It is very important. I see some messages in the chat. Some tips on what practical. Yeah, practicalities in terms of CV or LinkedIn things. Do you have any advices? Maybe Barihan, since you mentioned that it's quite important to have also like a good technical CV. What would be your like key thing on this?
So basically, I wanted to mention something else, but let me start with this one. So when it comes to the application to UN Habitat, usually, like we have to pass this filtering system in the beginning. And so if it's mentioned, like in the position, there's like a position related to resilience, don't just mention sustainability, because like yes, they are interconnected, but no, you have to mention the same keywords. Focus on addressing everything. Also, like in Inspira, when you're applying, and the part in the beginning, they're always asking you, do you have the relevant experience? Make sure to mention this, with dates, like from this to this, I worked on this, and this relates like in a specific way to the position I'm applying for. And why is that? What else? Like usually we apply using not CVs, but like also we can attach them. Some people look at them, but mainly we depend on the PHP or the personal history profile. So put everything. Don't forget to put your mother language or your mother tongue, because some people actually get disqualified, because let's say if we're in an Arabic country, so, and it's mandatory to have to know how to speak Arabic, and some people just assume, okay, it's everyone knows I can speak Arabic, I reside in this area, but no, you have to put it in the application.
Okay.
Sorry, someone said something. Yeah, so I wanted actually to point to something, is to be strategic about, like your application. So there are actually some pointers that we know right now as UN employees, but we didn't know before. So we have to look at the grades of the position. We have to look at where is it located. There are positions that are international, and there are positions that are national positions. National positions means that you have to have the same nationality as the duty station. However, international positions mean that you have to have any other nationality except for the one of the duty station. Some people actually mix this up, and they apply for like local international positions when they are not going to even be filtered into, like the short list or the long list. So I think this is important. And also to know if you're applying for a very senior position with, saying maybe, yes, this position needs 5 years of experience, I have 4 years of experience or 3 years of experience, maybe I will pass. It's worth to make the try, but there are, like in the requirements section, there are desirable competencies, and there are mandatory competencies. So the mandatory ones, they have to be covered, unless otherwise no one is going to like pass the first screening phase. And the other desirable ones, then you get like extra points for this. There are also like a difference between like program positions and consultants. Maybe it works differently in different countries, but at least in my office, we focus on like consultancies. They usually do the technical input, while program positions, they do the whole project cycle, for the management and everything from start to ending. And there's something also that I think I forgot. But yeah, maybe this is it mostly for the positions. Oh, and something else, this is not a rule. However, I think it has a high probability. So when people are applying for internships as an entry point to the UN system, usually applying as an international intern to a country team, maybe it's like it's more difficult to get hired. However, applying as an international intern to headquarters, maybe you have higher chances of actually getting hired. And applying as like usually it depends actually on the availability of budgets and everything. So getting an internship does not guarantee you to be hired. However, we're seeing, like where the chances are higher and where the chances are lower, so that it's good to get, like an international experience somewhere else. However, it's okay. Like, we don't have to get our hopes up if I apply somewhere where
I guess
my
also
chances
if
of
you
getting a
prove
position.
yourself. Yeah, if you also
I'm
prove
sorry?
yourself. I believe also if you prove
Yes,
yourself
yes,
during this internship,
definitely,
to really stand out somehow gives you high chances.
definitely.
I see some thanks a lot, Barihan, for this interesting advices. And
I
I
would
see
like
some
to add
nice
also
comments from
one last comment. So everyone is also looking at the UN careers for positions and for internships. I would advise everyone also to take a look at the UMV or the UN volunteer portal. The UMV is actually like, being a volunteer doesn't have to be unpaid. Apart from, like, our UN Habitat internships are actually unpaid. There are two types of internships, the online internships and the on-site internships. And all the on-site volunteering opportunities, they're all paid, whether they're national or international. And they do not just cover UN Habitat, they cover all the UN organizations. So it's really a good chance to look at these. And especially for, for the positions funded by specific countries, they get to serve in those. And there's also the JPO position. It's not related to UMV. This is like a schematic program for UN Habitat, that we have positions that are funded by specific countries. So I would advise everyone to look at the JPOs mostly from the global north, because they're the countries that fund positions, and for UMVs worldwide, everywhere. Yeah, thank you.
nice. Yes, just also
Thank
coming
you.
back to what you mentioned. Samuel was just texting another advice about like unpaid paid internships. And Samuel mentioned that indeed internships in the UN Secretariat agencies like UNEP, UN Habitat, etc., are unpaid mostly. But so working in Nairobi would make the most financial sense. This is what Samuel mentions, that yeah, because accommodation and flights and I think living costs and responsibilities in terms of responsibilities is more like affordable. And I also Samuel and also Sagar, you guys are in Nairobi, so that's a good tip also for people who wants to try their internship, maybe are hesitating because it's unpaid. Nairobi is a good option. So thanks for the tip, Samuel. Also, Samuel posted a link for UN Inspiration application guide in the chat. You can, if whoever wants, can save the link. I think we have to kind of sum up a little bit, because there are, of course, it's like a lot of insights, but we have also work-life balance, let's say, which is also not less important in this field. Not to remember. I want to thank all our speakers, our audience, and also people who organized this. So first of all, thank you, Alexander, Samuel, Sagar, and Barihan, for your time and for really sharing. It's important. Thank you, everyone, for joining this, who found time or with the AI assistant. Thanks a lot, Stefana. Who doesn't know, Stefana is a senior communication officer in IHS. And these webinars wouldn't happen if not Stefana. So yeah, thanks a lot. And also our IHS alumni team. So Sagar, Eduardo, Agnes, thanks a lot for making this happen. Please stay connected and join the LinkedIn group. Share about the Impact Award. Really, like, push your friends or people who you know. And yeah, it was nice to have you all here.
Yeah, just as a last remark, so this webinar has been recorded because a lot more people, as they do, registered for the webinar than attended. So we will make it available to everybody who registered as a recording, and we will also include the links that were shared here. So the UNV opportunities links, the link to the guide that Samuel included. You may, of course, stay connected to, if you're IHS alumni or current students, join the LinkedIn group, and we'll be happy to keep in touch there, where we also post future opportunities there for future events. And yeah, of course, you may just connect with us on LinkedIn as well. And hopefully this was a nice, nice learning opportunity for everyone. Thanks to speakers once more, and to Sagar and Agnes for thinking this webinar together and helping making it reality and finding our amazing speakers. And yeah, wish you all a good rest of the morning, day, evening, wherever you are. Stay hydrated if you're in the Netherlands. And let's keep in touch on our LinkedIn group.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Day.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.